Hey there, it's Beth. I wanted to talk a little bit about Mary K. Greer's tarot books. I have 3 of them currently, and 2 I've had for quite a while, and I've used them extensively, especially the first one I'm going to talk to you. I think this was her first book, and it's still in print. It has a different cover at this point in time, same name, and it's called Tarot for Yourself, a workbook for personal transformation, and covers a lot of ground. And one of the things I really like about it is in the first section, it deals with finding out what your life card is, personality and soul cards, cards of the year, and just kind of a very interesting take on using some numerology with tarot, and very insightful too, I found. And she encourages you to journal with your tarot, start a tarot workbook, book of shadows, whatever the heck you want to call it, and start writing down things and using them with rituals. It has a section on how to purify cards, and using your imagination with the card. It has little things where you go right down, kind of if you look at my Fool video, similar to that. Teaches you how to enter a card, which is a really cool thing to do. You take your card, here's one right here, this is a 7 of Cups, and you look at it and you get things down, and something like this one's gonna, wow, that could be interesting. I've only done it with kind of Rider-Waite-Smithy people cards. This one could be a really cool one to find out what you get told by like a starfish in your little journey into the card. You look at it, and eventually when you feel like you've got it done, you close your eyes and visualize it in your head, and then you step into the card and see what happens. And every time I've done it, it's been very interesting. The High Priestess gave me an egg one time, and every time you learn something from the card that you don't get just by reading it or evaluating and dissecting it. When you enter in and use that active imagination and kind of do some path working into the tarot, it really opens up a lot of different doors. And she talks also about the cards, the meaning of the cards, meanings of numbers, the symbology behind swords, cups, wands, pentacles or coins, discs, whatever you're using, whichever name they're using. She also has different spreads, layouts you can use. It has a chapter on healing in the tarot, crystals in the tarot, using your creativity with the tarot. Mostly in the creativity section she's dealing with writing, but you can definitely also branch that out into the visual arts. Because when this book was wrote too, it's like making a video like this, forget it. You had to get your camera, you had to get tape, it was a big pain in the butt way back when this book came out. She goes into brief meanings for the major arcana at the end, and same with all the pips. Lots of information there. She does have a bibliography. Love me a bibliography. It's a great way to branch out and find other books to read. I'm a big reader. The second book I have, which is not her second book. Her second book was originally called Tarot Constellations, and I think now it's like finding yourself within the tarot. I was just looking at I've never had tarot constellations, and so I'm not sure. The new book is not called Tarot Constellations, so if you go online and look for Tarot Constellations, you're going to find an out-of-print book that people want $68 plus shipping and handling for an out-of-print book. Ridiculous. Go buy the new version instead. I'm sure it's just as good as that. This book is called this, which is technically the second book I owned, third book she wrote. Tarot Mirrors, Reflections of Personal Meaning in the Tarot. And this one I haven't used quite as much as the first one. There's parts of it I've used heavily. She kind of goes into this weird Seth thing about halfway through. It comes a lot on Seth, and I don't know, kind of having really read much Seth literature or been interested in it. It kind of is like, what? I don't get it, because I don't know anything about Seth other than, you know, when I went to the bookstore in the 80s when I was in junior high, there was a buttload of Seth books, a couple Civil Leagues, and palmistry and numerology. And I think is it Eden Gray Tarot book, probably. Not a lot. Tons of Seth, though. Never read it, never really felt drawn to read it, still really don't care. One big drawback about this book. Really, the first half is like your strongest. You get like this kind of stuff. Can we see? Which is awesome in the first half of the book. Combining elemental qualities. Very helpful. Doing spreads. How to do things. And it goes a little more into the elements of the cards. Pentacles is earth and things like that. Symbology. And one thing I do like about her books is they're very much a workbook. There's exercises, there's things to go through to learn, as opposed to just this is blah, 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 and then you have this blah, blah, blah. You get the blah, 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 but you also get a way to incorporate and really learn and cement that blah, blah, blah into the brain and into yourself. The other thing that's really annoying about this book is it has a bad case of, in my other book, The Tarot Constellations. This, you know, she references it, I don't know how many times. In my other book, The Tarot Constellations. Highly annoying. Ignore that part. The Seth thing, maybe you're into Seth. I'm not. You might find the Seth part interesting. I found it kind of like, okay, whatever. I just kind of skimmed through that part, truth be known. But I still found a lot of good information on this. And once again, old first printing, or whatever, this is first round. It has a different cover these days. And actually, I picked up both of those used, the first two. And this one is a recent acquisition, and it is called 21 Ways to Read a Tarot Card. This actually looks like that on Amazon. And it takes you through different little ways just to read, to start learning the cards. Like one of the first ones is just pick up the cards and like you read all of them. 7 of Cups. 2 of Pentacles, and you just go through your whole deck doing that, looking at them. And she has kind of a novice and adept thing, so if you're just beginning, you can do the easier one, and then she has something that's a little more in-depth. And I'd say these exercises can take anywhere from just a few minutes on, probably about 20 minutes to a half hour on the more in-depth ones. But it's, so far, I've just started working through this book. I haven't made it all the way through yet. But so far, really liking it. And it has different sections like symbols, modifications, range of cards, queries and snapshots, as she called it, metaphor, numbers. I saw a, where'd it go? Mode, suite, and element. Good way to just start working through things. And I tend to really be more drawn to tarot books that are more workbooky than just straight up information. I think you get more out of them when they are workbooky type things, as opposed to just reading definitions and whatever they have to say. I think there is definitely a place of learning that kind of stuff. My throat is getting very dry. But overall, I think in the long run, doing exercises and stepping away from books, and because it gets in there, you just are afraid you don't know it's in there. And once you start doing exercises to cement it and let yourself actually know you know it, then it's when you can really start just reading for people and feeling secure in it and not feeling, oh, I don't know what I'm doing anymore, and losing that kind of